Walter Thomas Dunlo Allen was born in the borough of Hackney in the East End of London on the 6th of June 1901, which in today's terms made him 111 years old. However, he died as a baby, sadly, but on October the 3rd, 1913, Walter Thomas Dunlo Allen was born again, and his parents decided to give him the identical name of his late older brother, and so Walter proudly boasted, in a light-hearted way, that he had been born twice and held 2 birth certificates. Walter had another older brother, Harold Stanley, and 5 sisters in Clary, Emmy, Ethel, Phyllis, and Lorna. Their parents were the theatrical producers, designers, and performers Walter Dunlo Allen and the comedian and circus performer Clary Dennis. The biggest thrill for Walter in his childhood when he was growing up was to see his father's name up in lights playing Genie of the Lamp in the first panto at the Palladium after the First World War in 1922. Walter's first job when he left school was as a milkman. He was then later employed by his father's production company, where he became stage manager and actor, playing in many varied roles in revues and dramas, pantomimes and musical comedies. Often on stage, Walter would act with his father, and they worked with many major names of the day, including Charlie Chaplin and Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy, in productions such as Casey's Court and Mumming Birds. During the 1930s and 40s, the family production company ran the Stratford Theatre Royal in the East End of London, and many of the shows are featured in the archives of the Stage newspaper, which you can access online. One of Walter's sisters, Lorna Dunlo Allen, became the UK's answer to the USA's Ginger Rogers of that era, with her amazing tap and dance routines. Older brother Harold Stanley went on to become one of the longest reigning stage managers in the business, and directed affairs at the new Wimbledon Theatre for many years. Walter himself toured as a stage manager and support actor to the legendary Tod Slaughter, and appeared in many of the thrillers alongside him, including Sweeney Todd and Face at the Window, which he was interviewed about on film in recent years when he stayed at the Grand Hotel in Brighton. The late pianist, composer and spiritualist Margaret Joan Hobday Allen was Walter's wife and soulmate for approximately 50 golden years. She passed away on June the 5th, 1990, aged 67 years. Walter outlived her by 22.5 years, but there wasn't a day that went by without him not thinking about her. Margaret and Walter lost their first child as a baby, but then they had a son, David Walter, and a daughter, Elizabeth Cindy. And when their children were grown up, they spent time with them going back and forth to Canada from England. They loved and were proud of their Canadian son-in-law, Glenn Francis, and grandchildren of Samantha Louise, Amelia Francis, and Sefton Thomas, that have all grown up to adulthood alongside Clara Beth, who was born after her grandmother Margaret had died. Recently, in England, Walter was chuffed to bits to hold his one and only great-grandchild in his arms in his lifetime, Nevaeh Laurie. During his latter years, Walter had to fly to Canada uninsured from England to see his family, because the insurance companies refused to take out a policy on him because of his age. However, during his last year of life, Walter had an eventful one. He had a reunion with the King of the Grand Order of Water Rats, Jess Conrad, OBE, after seeing his show at the historic Galston Pavilion Theatre with guest star entertainer Glenn M. Ford, who he knew as well from over the years, and he visited the Hippodrome Circus at Great Yarmouth, where afterwards the owner Peter J. met him. Walter Thomas Dunlo Allen was born 3rd of October 1913, and his final curtain was the 8th of December 2012. He was 99 and in his 100th year of life, which he had celebrated along with all of us at the Genesis Arts Centre only 2 months ago in Bognor, UK, with family, relatives and friends, food, dance, laughter. Walter was the last remaining member of his brothers and sisters. Walter has worked in every surviving theatre in the whole of Britain, and many that are no longer with us. He has left one secret from his long theatrical life to go public now that he has passed on. The Dunlo Allen family covered up the private relationship between His Royal Highness, the King of the Day, when he had an affair with the actress Mona Vivian, and the family that are maybe the true heirs to the British throne today are now living in Canada. The classical music for today's ceremonial has been composed by Walter's late loving wife and soulmate, Margaret Joan Hobday Allen, whose nickname was Peggy. The orchestra is arranged and conducted by William Hayward under Margaret's guidance. God bless you all. Walter is now united with his wife and soulmate Margaret in the kingdom of love, which is heaven.